Big changes are coming to the Las Vegas Raiders roster under head coach Pete Carroll and new general manager John Spytek. Today, we're breaking down players who made the 53-man roster last season and which of them may not make the cut this year. We'll also highlight some surprising names who contributed down the stretch last season, but may be on the outside looking in this time around. This actually speaks to something positive. The Raiders finally have a deep, competitive roster. For the first time in years, making 53-man projections is genuinely tough. That's a testament to what Carroll and Spytek are building in Vegas. Let's start with some returning players whose spot on the roster is far from secure. Running back Zamir White, nicknamed Zeus, was expected to break out last season. He bulked up in the offseason and came in with high expectations. But the results were underwhelming. 65 carries for just 183 yards. He was benched early and never found a rhythm. This offseason, the Raiders brought in Ashton Jeanty and Raheem Mostert, two backs who bring fresh energy to the backfield. And if it comes down to Sincere McCormick versus Zamir White, McCormick might have the edge, especially if he stays healthy. As of now, Zamir White looks like he has around a 25% chance to make the final roster. He'll need to prove he can protect the ball, contribute on special teams, and show more explosiveness if he wants a shot. Another name to watch, Dylan Laub. He made the 53-man roster last season, but like White, his opportunities were limited. A key reason? Ball security issues, something that quickly lands rookies in the doghouse. Still, Laub has special teams upside, which could keep him in the mix. With Alexander Madison gone and Amir Abdullah still a free agent, Laub might have the best shot out of last year's running back group. Right now, he sits at about a 55% chance of making the team, but nothing is guaranteed. Now let's talk wide receivers. Tyreek McAllister is an intriguing athlete, but the Raiders loaded up on receivers this offseason, including 3 new draft picks. It's hard to see McAllister carving out a role as a pass catcher. Players like Dante Dorton Jr. and even quarterback-turned-athlete Tommy Mellott may be the ones this staff chooses to develop instead. Barring a big leap in camp, McAllister faces an uphill battle to stick with the team. Starting with Tyreek McAllister, who brings elite speed to the table, legit 4.3-second 40-yard dash speed. That kind of athleticism is rare, but despite his strong preseason showing last year, the odds are stacked against him this time. The Raiders have a much deeper and more talented roster now, and McAllister's chances of making the final 53-man squad sit at about 10%. It's a tough reality, but speed alone may not be enough this year. Next up, Thayer Munford, offensive lineman. He's entering the final year of his rookie deal after being selected in the 7th round of the 2022 draft. Munford saw the field in 11 games last year, but allowed 5 sacks and struggled in pass protection, especially at tackle. Right now, there are already 8 offensive linemen who seem to be ahead of him on the depth chart, including new additions like Alex Kappa, Caleb Rogers, and rookie Charles Grant. If the Raiders choose to keep 9 offensive linemen, Munford might sneak onto the roster, but if they stick with 8, it's likely the end of the road. His odds are 50-50, depending entirely on roster depth decisions. Moving on to the defense, Amari Burney is a name worth tracking at linebacker. He had 17 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 tackles for loss last season. While he was part of the previous regime's draft class, Burney offers solid value on special teams and fits the kind of athletic profile Pete Carroll and John Spytek are now targeting. Because of that, he has a 75% chance to make the roster. Some even believe he could challenge Devin White for a starting role, though competition at linebacker is heating up fast. Let's talk about another contender, Tommy Eichenberg, a 5th-round pick out of Ohio State. He didn't get many snaps last year due to veterans like Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo taking most of the action. But with Spillane gone and depth still uncertain, Eichenberg should get a real opportunity in training camp. He's known for his football IQ and work ethic, traits the new staff values highly. Right now, he's got about a 70% chance to make the team and could rise quickly with a strong camp showing. Last in this group is Amari Gaynor, another linebacker worth watching. While his name hasn't generated as much buzz, he's quietly emerging as a sleeper pick to start alongside veteran Elandon Roberts. Gaynor's blend of athleticism and upside puts him right in the mix as the Raiders reshape their linebacker unit. Starting with Amari Gaynor at linebacker, he's making a strong impression this offseason. Reports from inside the locker room say he's doing everything right, showing serious effort, leadership, and coverage skills that set him apart. Gaynor also fits the athletic mold Pete Carroll and John Spytek are targeting. That gives him about a 75% chance to make the final 53-man roster, right in line with Amari Burney and slightly ahead of Tommy Eichenberg. The recent drafting of Cody Lindenberg might hurt Eichenberg's chances more than it affects Gaynor or Burney. Gaynor's versatility gives him the edge. Next up is Chris Smith, safety out of Georgia. Drafted in 2022 under the old regime, Smith has been a respected voice in the locker room, known for his leadership in college. But his chances on the field are shrinking. While he was a star in college, he lacks elite athleticism and doesn't bring much size to the position. In a defense now prioritizing long, fast athletes, Smith might not fit. With Lonnie Johnson Jr. and Trey Taylor offering more on special teams, it's hard to see a clear path for Smith unless injuries strike. His chances of making the roster are around 20%. Now we move into a different category. Players who didn't make the initial 53-man roster last season, but saw game action later. These are players who stepped in when depth was needed, but it's unclear if they'll stick around this year. The first name is running back Chris Collier. He's a raw athlete with a good frame and solid tools. Collier played college football at Lock Haven and showed flashes last year, but this backfield is crowded. With Ashton Genty, Raheem Mostert, and possibly Sincere McCormick ahead of him, the numbers just don't favor Collier. Unless he makes a major impact on special teams during camp, he's likely on the outside looking in. His current odds, 5% chance to make the final roster. We begin with Alex Bachman, wide receiver. Last season, he surprised a lot of people by making the roster after being signed in May. He finished with 3 catches for 31 yards and showed toughness. But let's be realistic. His chances of making the team again are very slim. With more competition at wide receiver, Bachman has about a 1% chance of making the 53-man roster. Next is Christian Wilkerson, also at wide receiver. Despite being in the mix the past couple of years, Wilkerson hasn't been able to break through. He's a solid athlete at 6 feet 1 inch, 214 pounds, and does have past connections to New England. But he projects more as a practice squad player. When comparing similar skill sets, Kyle Phillips appears to be ahead of him on the depth chart. Wilkerson gets a 2% chance of making the final roster. Now onto a name to keep an eye on, Thomas Harper, safety. A source recently shared that the Raiders are higher on Harper than publicly known. He posted a strong 77.0 coverage grade from PFF and has shown promise as a potential free safety, something this roster lacks. With Jeremy Chinn, Lonnie Johnson Jr., and Chris Smith Jr. better suited to strong safety or special teams, Harper's coverage ability gives him a unique edge. While he's still fighting an uphill battle, Harper has a 40% chance to make the roster if he can stand out in camp. Lastly, let's talk about Charles Snowden, defensive end. He was a great story last year, initially cut but rejoined the team and stepped up late in the season due to injuries. He finished with 39 tackles and 3 tackles for loss, even starting multiple games. However, the defensive line group is deeper this year. Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, and Andre Carter are all in the mix, and versatile players like Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Pengs could also push Snowden out of a spot. His path isn't easy, but based on effort and prior performance, Snowden has a 45% chance to make the team. Starting with the defensive end group, sources close to the team confirm that the Raiders are very confident in their core group of pass rushers, Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, and Tyree Wilson. However, they also feel very good about their defensive tackle depth, which may lead to keeping only 3 defensive ends and 7 defensive tackles due to the versatility that several of those interior linemen bring. This roster math affects Charles Snowden, who currently holds a 45% chance to make the team. Snowden's performance will be crucial in camp, but perhaps even more important is his upcoming court case on July 22nd, which may impact his roster status. Another intriguing name is Andre Carter, defensive end. Carter is a strong athlete with significant upside. Some once projected him as a potential first-round pick. His combination of length and explosiveness makes him a serious candidate for a roster spot. Compared to Snowden, Carter carries fewer off-field concerns, which gives him an edge. Carter is given a 50% chance to make the final 53-man roster and will be in a tight competition with Snowden throughout training camp. Moving inside to defensive tackle, we look at Matthew Butler, a former 5th-round pick out of Tennessee. While Butler has shown some promise, past concerns about his passion for football have lingered. Those doubts, combined with the additions the Raiders made to the defensive line this offseason, significantly hurt his chances. However, Max Crosby has reportedly been supportive of Butler's growth. Still, unless he shows a renewed commitment, Butler has just a 10% chance to make the roster and is more likely to land on the practice squad. Lastly, Zach Carter, a defensive tackle formerly with the Cincinnati Bengals, recorded 22 tackles and 1.5 sacks. But with the Raiders aiming to invest in younger talent at the position, Carter faces long odds to make the roster. With the front office focused on building around youth, especially on the defensive interior, his chances remain low. Starting again on the defensive line, Zach Carter still has potential if he can show signs of growth this offseason. While he needs to add some weight to withstand the rigors of interior line play, there's a path forward if he proves coachable and consistent in camp. As of now, Carter is given a 20% chance to make the team. Shifting to the secondary, next up is Sam Webb, a cornerback who's been one of the most reliable practice squad players in recent seasons. Webb may not be a starter, but he's earned respect for his work ethic and consistency. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches and 195 pounds, he offers solid physicality, even if he doesn't have elite athletic traits. Under Pete Carroll, who values long, athletic corners, Webb may not be a perfect fit. Despite his length, his lack of high-end athleticism limits his ceiling. Webb is projected to have a 20% chance of making the final 53-man roster. Another corner to watch is Q Blue Kelly, who provides some flexibility in the slot and could compete for reps at nickel, a position still unsettled for the Raiders. However, like Webb, Kelly lacks the athletic profile that typically thrives in today's NFL defenses. He's not particularly long or explosive, which may hurt his chances unless he impresses in camp. Kelly also receives a 20% chance to make the final roster. Overall, this evaluation has covered 17 players who saw action with the Raiders last season but may not make the team in 2025. That's a significant turnover, but it speaks to the team's evolving standards and the direction under new leadership. While competition will be fierce, the depth and upgrade in talent suggest that the Raiders are headed in a positive direction.